Welcome back to the worldwide school psychological support project aimed at supporting the mental well-being of teachers and students after the coronavirus pandemic. Chapter 7: How to measure impact of psychological actions and exploit the model of competences included in 01. Module 2. Choose an appropriate assessment format. In this second module of our video series on Chapter 7 about selecting the appropriate assessment format, we will first look at methods and strategies, then in a second part we will discuss the thinking skill level, and finally in a third part we will see what tools and adaptations are related to this topic. Are you ready? On your marks, get set, go! Once the purpose of the assessment is defined, the next step is choosing an appropriate assessment format for your items and tasks. Assessment experts refer to this step as the match between assessment format and measurement goal. First, within this framework, the distinction between direct and indirect methods should be outlined. Direct assessment refers to any method of collecting data that requires students to demonstrate a knowledge, skill or behavior. They measure observable aspects of performance against measurable learning outcomes. Indirect methods assess an opinion, belief or attitude. They focus on collecting data that requires reflection on student learning, skills or behaviors rather than a demonstration of it. Direct assessment methods could be behavioral observations, exams or assignments, performance appraisal, portfolio, whereas indirect assessment methods could be focus groups, surveys and questionnaires or interviews. There are many other types of direct and indirect assessment methods. It is essential to distinguish between objective and subjective formats. According to assessment experts, objective strategies tend to limit students in demonstrating their understanding. Multiple choice and gap-filling approaches are examples of approaches that limit students' options for demonstrating their acquired knowledge or skills. Assessment of objective work is generally easy and is usually done electronically. However, most educators recognize that a lot of time needs to be spent on designing the assessment tool. This time should be invested in designing a high-quality objective test, and it is useful to focus on simpler cognitive skills, such as recall and recognition. Feedback on performance in objective strategies tends to be expressed in quantitative terms, such as total correct responses or percentiles. While subjective strategies are typically categorized as more qualitative, these tend to be easier to create but harder to grade. Therefore, assessor must render individual attention to produce a fair conclusion about what the students have mastered in content or skills. In the objective strategies you can find assessments such as multiple choice questionnaires, fill in the blank, matching and true or false exercises. Subjective formats of assessments are short answers, open-ended questions or responding with critical mind. Let us now turn to our second part, thinking skill level. Traditional tests and performance assessment generally focus on different levels of cognitive complexity. Traditional assessment measures currently focus on the most basic cognitive abilities. Teachers report that school systems often adopt a formal framework to promote cognitive development. Two popular frameworks predominate in current educational practice, namely Webb's model of depth of knowledge on the one hand and Bloom's taxonomy on the other. Norman Webb's depth of knowledge framework is a popular model for considering the continuum of rigor. Webb's framework describes the levels of thinking required of students for various tasks. The main goal is not to keep thinking at the highest level, but to use the framework to keep students engaged and on a growth path at all stages of their learning. This model has 4 levels of DOC. Level 1 is recall and reproduction, remembering facts or defining a procedure. Level 2 are skills and concepts, which focuses on knowledge application and how students use learned concepts to answer questions. Level 3 is about analyzing and strategic thinking. While complexity increases and requires planning, justification, and complex reasoning. This level focuses on how concepts and procedures can be used to provide results. Level 4 is about extended thinking. At this level, going beyond the standard learning and asking, how else can the learning be used in real-world contexts is essential. This diagram is an updated version of the original taxonomy established by Lauren Anderson and David Krathwohl in 2001. There are 6 categories, from the simplest, remembering, to the most complex, creating. Moving from one category to the next, you get an overview of the level of cognitive rigor involved in learning. The breakdown of each category is as follows. The base. Remembering involves being able to recall, define or label. Then, understanding involves summarizing or classifying. Applying requires some level of implementation or to follow a procedure. The analyzing category involves breaking down parts of a concept in small bits for further analysis. The next category, evaluate, is about criticizing or making a judgment based on research. The final category, create, focused on developing something new on the basis of everything you have learned previously. What differentiates these two frameworks is what will be measured. Bloom taxonomy measures the cognitive level that students need to demonstrate to prove that a learning experience has taken place. DOC focuses more on the context, the scenario, setting or situation, in which students must express their learning. Therefore, Bloom classification will be more suitable for measuring instruction, purpose or cognitive rigor, while the DOC will be used to measure the assessment itself. In other words, and to summarize, Bloom taxonomy provides the instructional framework while DOC analyzes the specifics of the tasks. Furthermore, Bloom taxonomy requires that students master the lower levels of cognition before moving on to the next level. We now turn to our third and final part, tools and accommodations. Accommodations are changes to an assessment, or the way an assessment is administered, that help students better represent what they know or can do. It occurs especially in inclusive education settings as it offers all students to be assessed with equity. It should be noted that accommodations are different from modifications. Modifications change what is being measured. Accommodations change how learning is measured, not what is being measured. Some students have documentation, such as individualized education plans, that describe what accommodations are recommended, or even required, during testing. These plans are often associated with diagnosed learning disabilities or other learning issues. Usually these accommodations can be provided in ways that do not disrupt or inconvenience the rest of the class. Some accommodations may require testing the student in a small group, in an individual setting or in a special setting suitable to the student learning disability. Ideally, teachers, support staff, parents and students will discuss testing at the beginning of a course and decide how best to provide the accommodations to which students are accustomed and which allow them to demonstrate what they have learned. Students usually have had experiences using these accommodations in other classes and should be able to help plan how accommodations can be used efficiently during testing. Different schools or institutions use different lists and labels for accommodations. Even if it is impossible to be exhaustive, most of accommodations can be organized into 4 main categories: presentation, changing the way test items are presented. For example, students might listen to an audio file rather than read a text passage before answering questions about the passage. Response, changing the way a student responds to test items. For example, allowing a student to submit a typed response rather than a handwritten one. Setting, changing the environment in which a student completes an assessment. For example, a student tests in a separate room with fewer distractions, or individually. Timing and scheduling, changing the amount of time a student has to complete a task or changing the schedule. For example, providing extra time on tests or allowing a student to take breaks. Students usually have had experiences using these accommodations in other classes and should be able to help plan how accommodations can be used efficiently during testing. This module is now over. Your next destination is Module 3, Adopt, Write, Revise assessment items or tasks. Thank you for your attention. All the WSPS partners hope you enjoy the content of this video series as much as we enjoyed developing it. Keep working hard. See you soon.